That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Palm Trees and Power Lines, the directorial debut of Jamie Dack, which premiered at the 2022 Sundance Film Festival in the World Dramatic Competition. It is being released courtesy of Memento Pictures, March 3rd, 2023.
Directorial debut?
A debut, yes.
Excellent work, Jamie.
It was nominated for 4 Independent Spirit Awards, by the way.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, well deserved. This movie, I have zero critiques. I think the story is told very well. I didn't know anything about this movie. You just sent it to me to watch. So I was caught off guard by the subject matter.
My one critique really though is the title. I do not like the title. In fact, the title put me off from watching it because Sundance 2022 was virtual, which I covered many films out of that. And I just never made it around to watching because I'm like, well, no.
That's interesting because I the title caught my attention.
It does, but I feel like I've watched so much American independent cinema that I probably prejudged it by the title. Like, oh, I already know what this is going to feel like.
Sure.
And I was wrong.
Do you have thoughts about what the title means? Not to explain now, but at the end, I'll probably ask you because I don't have any thoughts on what I think it means.
Well, I think to me it was just the sparseness of where this young girl is caught, like in between these two.
Oh, sure.
Kind of nothingness and this sense of detachment that she very much is going through in what would other be a coming of age story. There's really nothing, the sparseness of what she's gravitating towards. But
well, the story is very simple. It's about a 17-year-old girl named Leah who lives with her mother. She's being raised by her mother alone. The dad's not in the picture. Her mom doesn't appear to be very involved in her life. The mom seems more concerned about chasing men than chasing her own daughter. And then we see Leah sort of has some raggedy little friends who she hangs out with. There's a boy who she's being sexual with. One day, she's out with her little group of friends at a diner, and they decide to dine and ditch. And Leah doesn't want to do that, but ultimately does try to run, but she gets caught by one of the restaurant's staff. And they actually get into a little physical altercation when a man who saw her in the restaurant appears to interject. And that man is named Tom. Leah's played by
Lily McInerny. It's her debut.
Oh, wow. I thought she did a fine job. And then Tom, I recognized.
Yeah, Jonathan Tucker. We've seen him. Well, I've seen him in quite a few things. I think he was in Sofia Coppola's Virgin Suicides. Whenever I see him, I always think about a movie I really like called The Deep End with Tilda Swinton, which is a remake of an old Max Ophuls film noir starring Joan Bennett, but where he's being blackmailed because he's gay and Tilda has to step in. He's also in Carter Smith's The Ruins, and we reviewed Charlie's Angels, the Elizabeth Banks film. He's the villain in that.
Well, and The Ruin, I saw The Ruins, and that person did the movie Swallowed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that actor, the one playing Tom, he reminds me of another actor who I think you like him. He's in a movie with Charlie Hunnam where they're boxing.
Isn't that Jamie Dornan?
No.
Yes. Who was on Queer as Folk, the original, Charlie Hunnam.
No. In the movie where Charlie Hunnam, he has a brother and they box, the brother.
Oh,
you said you like that actor.
We reviewed that. Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, so Tom interjects and then he follows her home, trying to get her attention, and they start dating. So Leah's 17 and we find out Tom is 34. So from my perspective, he's a predator, and it's obvious very quickly that his intentions are not good. And basically, Tom is a pimp, and he's grooming her to be a prostitute. And everything culminates with them taking what she thinks is like a vacation to stay in a hotel. And when they get there, he forces her to perform a sex act on him in kind of an aggressive way. And then he tells her, oh, I have a friend who wants to meet you, and you need to do to him what you did to me, basically. Because if you want me to take care of you, then you need to do this. So she does it. She's upset. Then we see them eating at a restaurant, and Leah escapes. Like, she runs out the back door, runs to a gas station, calls one of her little raggedy friends to come get her. She goes home, and it would appear that maybe, hopefully, she's going to leave Tom alone or actually get the authorities involved. But instead, this girl goes to the motel Tom was staying in to find him. He's not there, but another girl who's working for him is staying in another room. Leah goes to her and says, "Can you get me in contact with Tom?" She gets him on the phone, and the final scene of the film is Leah on the phone being like a little giddy schoolgirl telling him that she misses him. The end. So
But the actor you're thinking of is Jack O'Connell, who I do like a lot in that film Jungleland, which we reviewed.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, this movie was not at all what I thought. It's pretty upsetting. It was upsetting to me watching this young girl be taken advantage of. And then in the end, I'm presuming it's left open, but my fear is that she would sort of continue to interact with him and allow her to use her in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But immediately,
it is.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying it is a very troubling film, and it reminded me of kind of some of my own experiences as a teenager, as a gay teenager, and kind of having that detached feeling from your parents, and then also having to keep something secret that you can't divulge to your friends, which kind of furthers you down that road and into that other person's arms.
Yeah, I think the writing is very good because it does a good job of demonstrating how this young girl is vulnerable to this man's attention and his intentions.
But vulnerable in the sense that she doesn't know it yet, because a groomer knows exactly the things to say to make her feel special and seen, which she doesn't have in any other way in her life.
Right.
And that's such a formative time when you're first having those sexual experiences that really you're not prepared for how it's going to make you feel. And that's what a predator is. He's taking full advantage of that.
Yeah. We know immediately the kind of relationship Leah and her mom have, because the mom is sort of saying, like, all you do is sit on your phone. Like, are you prepared? Like, it's because it's summertime. And the mom offers Leah to work with her for like a few hours a week or whatever. And Leah immediately is like, no, thank you. So clearly they're not well connected. But this little group of friends Leah has, my first thought is like, teenagers are so awful.
Yeah, they are, especially the listening to the way teenage boys talk about women. Again, I don't feel that far removed from remembering my own group of friends talking that way, and it's just so distressing. But
it's interesting because I've always been a loner and I didn't have friends in high school. So I was never really like exposed to that sort of behavior. But watching it, it's so upsetting, and what like such a toxic environment for someone who's still developing to be a part of. But we see her with these friends and this boy she's having sex with. We see them having sex in the back of his car. And of course, he is just worried about his own needs. And he finishes very quickly and then basically like kicks her out of the car. And then they go back to their friends. I just was like, wow. And then that's followed with the whole diner scene where they like leave them with the bill.
Well, and that conquest, that's supposedly a conquest for her also in the friend group, because he's attached to another girl in the friend group, right?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be something special.
When they dine and ditch, because Leah's the one who's like, we shouldn't do this, so she's the last one to run out. The restaurant staff grabs her and he's telling her like, no, come back inside, like you need to pay. And Leah, I think, bites him. So the guy slaps her. And that's when Tom shows up and says, you can't hit anyone. And I wrote down, I believe you should be able to slap someone who doesn't pay their bill.
Well,
violence is never the answer, but I mean,
assault charges.
Oh, right, of course.
The mother is played by Gretchen Mol, who's quite a notable actress. She was in a lot of stuff in the 90s. She's probably quite known for Boardwalk Empire, but we reviewed her in False Positive, if you remember, which she played the nurse to Pierce Brosnan.
Okay, I remember that movie.
I don't
Everything. Go ahead.
sorry, I don't think she has a lot to do in this, but I think she was kind of a notable person to get for this kind of indie debut.
Everything Tom says is like groomer 101. Like everything out of his mouth is like manipulating her, telling her that she should hang out with people who are more on her level. Like
Yeah,
just yeah.
he's hitting all the right buttons. He's hitting all the right buttons someone like that needs to hear. And I think one of the best scenes is when that waitress approaches her.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And says, "Are you okay? Can you come back? I can help you escape."
Because so um the scene you're talking about is Tom and Leah are eating, and then Tom gets up to take a phone call and leaves the table, and that's when the waitress scoops in and says what you just said, and because she goes, well, I see him here with a lot of girls. So stupid Leah, because what does she know? She tells Tom what the waitress said, and I'm like, no. And then the waitress goes in and says something to that lady, and I'm sure it threatened her.
But again, you don't know. You don't want to believe that, right?
No, and she's a kid.
Yeah.
But Leah's mom, it the juxtaposition of like her wanting to be with a man who's making her feel like she's worthy, and then seeing her own mother who has all these men running through the house, and then is like back with her ex, which clearly Leah doesn't like. And then there's a moment where like Leah has to like hear her mom having sex in the house, and it's just like this perfect storm for this young girl to feel like, I mean, she's just so open to this man's suggestions.
This scene where she tells her mother that some people shouldn't have children, and it's like there's a truth to that maybe Sandra, the mother's name, needs to hear. But also, if I'd spoken to my parents like that, I again, that's probably where she deserved the slap. But
Well, I thought it was so creepy when Tom and Leah go to the beach for the first time, and we see him take off his shirt, and he has a very nice body, and of course she's looking at him like, because he has like a man's body. So I thought it was so creepy how like he's doing that to like encourage her to take off her like get her bathing suit exposed, and the way he's looking at her, because it's so obvious to me that he's like, I was for sure he was like involved in sex trafficking. So the way he's looking at her is like looking at the merchandise, like let me see what I'm working with here. That was so creepy.
oh, when they pull up to where he's living and his explanation for being in a hotel room,
Oh, I knew immediately
you know,
the best case scenario when they pulled up to the motel and she's like, wait, you don't live in a house. For a minute, I thought, oh, maybe he's married. But yeah, once we see that he's arguing with some lady who's also staying at the motel, then it was like, oh, he's a pimp. But I did add Tom to my worst hair of 2023 list.
oh, okay.
Because he has like this awful, like I wrote down that he has like a conservative mullet. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like it. Um, when
Oh, also when he said he's 34, I'm like,
oh, you thought he looked older?
yeah, well, he is, but yeah.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah.
It was, then it's like when they get to the hotel and he's like telling her he'll give her liquor. It's just like, oh no. Oh no.
Well, it's just you're not going to run away. It's just frustrating watching somebody like it's if it's too good to be true, it usually is, but she doesn't know enough to realize that. But
Do you recall the song she sang for him?
no, what was it?
Those lyrics were depressing. I wrote down, she needs a therapist. Like,
Yeah.
this poor girl is like, she needs help. She needs support. It's really bad. Then when we see Leah take Tom to her house, it was so creepy because you can tell when he's walking into the house, like how he's scoping it out to make, like, you can tell that he doesn't have good intentions for this girl. Like, why are you so like concerned about what's going on in the house? Like, you know you're up to no good and you shouldn't be here, because if you didn't think that, you would have just walked into the house.
Right.
So I thought that was very well done.
It reminds me a lot of the film Smooth Talk from 1985, which is based on the Joyce Carol Oates short story, Where Have You Going, Where Have You Been? I've made you watch that, remember, with Laura Dern and Treat Williams, where she's this young, lithesome blonde, and we see them going to the mall with her friends, and she doesn't get along with her mother.
She lives like kind of out in like the middle of nowhere.
Kind of, and then she's home alone. Treat Williams shows up. He's been following her from the mall. It felt very, and I think Joyce Chopra is the director. It's on Criterion, but that's an excellent movie as well. But it reminded me like that there are tinges of kind of a horror film going on underneath the surface.
These girls are evil. Like when Tom and Leah are at the beach and that one girl walks up to them and she's like, "Hey, who are you?" Blah blah blah. And then she actually tells, she basically says like, "Oh, you can't talk to me about him, but like you're gonna have sex with this guy," like right in front of Tom. Ugh. Then I thought it was really well done how Leah sort of acts like a little girl sometimes.
Oh, because she is.
Because she is a kid, but I thought the direction was really good. Like how sometimes when she laughs, she sounds like a little girl. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, this grown ass man needs to leave this girl alone. When that random lady shows up to the hotel room, and that's when we realize that there's probably like another prostitute he's working with. It just like so many things that made me want to just snatch this girl and take her ass home.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was really well done. There isn't anything about the movie that I can say I didn't like. It wasn't an enjoyable experience, but
no, because even how it's shot, and the cinematographer is Chotrungroj, who also just shot a film called Birth Rebirth that was at Sundance this year. It's even shot in a way that's like, I just want to leave here. I don't want to be anywhere near it. And I don't know if that's because, again, it reminded me of myself at a certain age, but it's not an enjoyable film, but it's also not so strenuous either. It's just frustrating. It's
frustrating, and it's almost like you want to show it to like teenage girls to be like, beware. What would you give this movie?
3.5. Again, I really think a different title could have worked, and not something more generic. But I don't know. It just doesn't quite gel for me. But that's
well, if that's the only critique you have, that's pretty good. I would give the film 4 out of 5. I think it's excellent. Like it just isn't a fun thing to watch, but that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.